It can't stop the day we dissect the news. Flipping on the edge, choices to choose. Politics and laughter, a blend that's so real. Tune in for the stories that make you feel. With guests from every angle, let's bridge the divide. Finding the truth in the humor we can't hide.
Hey, listen, if we have a country that can spend trillions of dollars on bombs and trillions of dollars on entitlement programs and trillions of dollars on tax cuts, we can afford it.
It's a question of return on investment. It was an interesting conversation recently. Jon Stewart on the Daily Show had a guest on, and for the life of me, I can't remember this person's name. But it was the return on investment. For every dollar that we invest into someone who may be in a position where they are unable to afford food, for instance, especially as it relates to food stamps program, we get back something like 30 some odd dollars as a society, because somebody who's not hungry is far less likely to be involved in crimes. And as a society, homelessness, sick, exactly.
Gainfully employed.
Correct. For every dollar, we get 30 some odd dollars back. Yep. That is a huge return on investment.
That's right.
So it's really a matter of who are we investing it in? We should be investing it into us.
Our people and
the people
and the students.
Every country is made up of its people.
That's right.
And if you invest into that people, that is what makes the country awesome.
Yeah. That's what will truly make us great again, is investing in education.
People.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep, investing into people. And going back to the price tag, I feel like it's one of those things that we've talked about, formal and informal education a lot, especially, that was a focal point of our very first conversations that we've had. I feel like when it comes to education is really oftentimes also a question of personal interest. And it's not so much of the institution. I feel like everybody seeks out a specific institution to kind of validate, oh, well, I got my degree from X. And really, it's kind of a matter of get your education from where you can afford it. And I'm a huge believer in terms of you are going to be educated. And if you choose to be educated, you're going to find a way to get educated. As far as cost is concerned, I could not agree more. There needs to be a time where we go back to the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, where there was a real blossoming of the middle class, that we were able to have a stable educational system that was, in fact, supported by taxes that were, let's just say, more than fair for the top earners. Progressive taxes, exactly. Basically, we're talking about going back to the Eisenhower era.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a Republican who was pretty much set on you're going to be taxed in the 70, 80, 90 percentiles. 90%. And I mean, how else did we afford to do any of the things that we did as a nation? How did we afford the interstate system? Think about if we were to, I have plenty of criticisms for the left-leaning side. I mean, look at California. Apparently, they're incapable of, putting together a viable transportation system without imposing an outrageous cost on their taxpayers. Just if you kind of look into their, high-speed rail that was supposed to, happen for the longest time between LA and San Francisco, which never really came to fruition, and now the costs are just off the charts because everybody's just looking to cash in. It's interesting to me that as a nation, we were able to build an entire network of an interstate system that our economy depends on to this day. And how did we do it? Well, it was that sense of, collectivism that ensured that sense of solidarity.
Well, it made Jeff Bezos very wealthy, yet he doesn't pay taxes to maintain that infrastructure.
And again, I go back to Rutger Bregman, and I go back to the conversation about taxes. So that's kind of where we are at.
If we go back, though, can we maintain the rates that women have gained over time?
Yes.
Because what ridiculous year is it that we weren't even allowed to have our own bank accounts or credit cards?
That was in the 70s.
Yeah.
That was actually in the 70s.
Yeah. So, if we take us back to 50s, 60s, 70s, I also think the education wasn't available to women back then.
Oh, I was specifically just referencing tax rates.
Okay,
you,
but
Admar.
so
Thank
I'm
you so
talking.
much, Admar.
Yeah, I was just referencing.
Okay, just that.
Well, wait
this.
until
You
we.
did take gender and leadership from me.
I did.
I just have to
Very
like.
well.
I have to
High
sit
five
with
on
my
that one.
sister and.
Yes.
High five on that one.
Yes, high five. Good
Well,
student.
wait until we get our first female president, and it will happen.
I don't
You'll
know if
see
I'll
it.
live to see it.
I think you will.
I'm starting to think I won't either.
I do not. I have a good
And
feeling
I think you
about
will.
that.
I think it'll
Not
happen.
when I hear things like women should be property and not have the right to vote. I mean, I'm like, that gets me real twitchy over here.
And when I hear other women saying, "Well, but
Yeah.
I don't know that I can vote for Harris,"
yeah, for no
And it's-
other reason than
yeah.
she's a woman.
Well,
So they're going to vote for the guy that's talking about eating cats and dogs.
or they're voting for. I
Okay.
don't know who they voted
All right.
for, or they chose not to vote. I don't know.
I just heard because she's a woman for in many cases, really.
Well, and a black woman. That was something else.
It
for the
was-
No,
South.
it was more a woman.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
was-
because we've had a black man as president, so
Yeah.
I think the race, and not well, but we
Yeah.
broke the race barrier into the presidency once.
Yes, I agree. I think it was
Once
just this
in
discomfort with
260
they'd rather
years.
go with
But we
the
haven't-
strong, insane man who they perceive as strong. I mean,
Strong?
that also. Yeah,
Have you seen
real
him
strong.
lately? Have you seen this guy?
No, they perceive him as a strong man.
Have you seen that hand bruise?
Using air quotes, if you can't. I mean,
messaging. That's why
Yeah.
communication is such an important thing. I remember I was asked back in 2015, which candidate do you think is going to win? And I basically made an assessment based
Yeah.
on my
Broke
level
my
of
heart,
knowledge.
that one.
It was I flat out just said the one who can use rhetoric to move a sufficient number of voters one direction or another. And that's all it took. Because it just implies how important communications is. So when people, I remember, speaking of higher education, I remember I was in a position, by the way, where I was uncertain what degree I'm going to pursue. Education kind of fell in my lap in a number of different ways. I wish I could say I was very deliberate about my decisions. I really wasn't. I was just kind of tired. At one point, I was like, I need to graduate. But ultimately, it was just a matter of learning how important communications is and learning that this can sway societies. That's how important communications is. So when somebody says, oh, you got a degree in communications? Well, that's fun. Yeah, this is the one degree that can have societal impacts. Very few things can do that, apart from, of course, technology. And then we can go into that realm and that conversation here shortly. But no, it's kind of interesting. And may I just say one additional thing about that? If you ever have the opportunity to invite, I believe her name is Leslie Keene from the New York Times, please do so, because I would love to hear what she has to say on the subject of investigative journalism as it relates to some interesting subject matter.
You got a New York Times crush? Is that?
I do. Leslie Keene, if you're listening, please consider becoming a subscriber. Of course she is.
Of course.
But yeah, she has broken the story on some interesting programs that our government has had related to unidentified phenomena.
oh, is it?
Oh,
are
it's
you
always
back on
ancient
the
aliens.
Yes,
UFOs?
Always
I'm
ancient
sorry.
aliens with
I'm
this guy.
sorry. This was
Admar
just
always gets to UFOs at
I
some
have
point.
At
to.
He
some
will
point, there's
never-
always something flying around in the sky. So.
He's
Yes.
gonna get to UFOs at every
eventually.
episode.
So there we go.
There's a great story about our former chancellor, who was a member of our department. Comm faculty chose comm as a degree program because the line was the shortest. Back when you
me.
used to register for degrees by standing in line, or register for classes by standing in line before the digital age. And it was such a great story that she told so well. So you falling into comm is not uncommon. I don't necessarily think, with advising, kind of trying to help students find their path based on the classes that they have and the credits that they have, and trying to get them to graduate. So we're just glad you found us.
Yes.
Because
I
it
could
ended
not
up
be happier.
being your niche,
It really has been. I'm not going to argue that point one little bit, because this is where I belong. This is where I belong.
That's what we hear all the time.
That's right. The Prime Directive is about the unity of one mind. That's right.
That's it. Yeah, we're like a Borg.
Yeah.
So we sometimes like to transition into this area. This is kind of a new thing for us, but it's been a fun one. And this is Back in My Day. And should we do it?
Oh,
fellas?
yes.
Should we
Yes,
do it,
let's
fellas?
do it.
So
Let's
Back
do
in
it.
my
we
day.
like to do a little Back in My Day. So what we like you to do is get nostalgic with us about your childhood, your favorite things about your childhood. And we're talking toys, we're talking movies, we're talking music, we're talking anything that was your favorite things about your childhood. I mean, if you want to go Barbie, you can go Barbie. If you want to go, I mean, these guys have gone He-Man, they've gone video games. Anything is on the table, anything at all. So you grew up in New York?
Until I was 8, and then my mom moved me around like I was a military dependent because she was young when she had me, and was we ended up in Boulder because in The Stand, Stephen King, all the good people went to Boulder, and my mom was a big Stephen King fan, so she took me to Boulder for a year where we didn't love it, and I actually moved from New York straight to Cripple Creek.
My gosh, you did not.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cripple Creek.
So here's a Back in my day. Back in my day, I was in a it was a one room classroom per grade in Cripple Creek. And when I would get done with school, my aunt owned a restaurant in Cripple Creek, a restaurant and bar. So I would walk from school to the bar where my mom was the daytime bartender. I was never allowed behind the bar. That was just not. But I could make a Shirley Temple from the outside of the bar. So I would make myself a Shirley Temple and I would play pool.
Wow.
And then I went on to play in some pool tournaments with my grandfather.
You've never played pool down here during the faculty Christmas
I'm not good
party.
anymore. I'm really not good anymore.
I don't think you ever lose that. You could probably kick all of
I mean,
our
I think
butts.
I was really good for an 8-year-old. But
Hey, it's like riding a bicycle. You never really forget it. So
I know Janice's husband is the dart champion. He's like really good at darts.
yeah.
But we'll have to get you. Okay, go on.
No, and so that was it. And then I begged in the restaurant to like wait tables or to do anything. So I was often, bussing and cleaning dishes. And then they would give me like one table to wait on. So I thought it was
adorable.
I thought I had like reached my career heights at 8 years old, waiting on a table.
That's adorable.
That's pretty awesome.
You're
That is
making big
amazing.
tips and with that killer smile.
I guess. What's really weird is I was shy, so the fact that I wanted to wait on tables seems weird. But yeah, so I'm trying to think of like other back in my day things. I don't know.
what was there to do in Cripple Creek? So obviously
Play pool.
and wait
No
on tables
gambling.
and
No gambling back
no
then.
gambling. There
There was believe it or not, there wasn't internet back then either. I know it. I don't look that old.
Internet.
But
how did you all?
How did you live?
I don't know. I think I read books. My mom adopted
Books?
cats. My mom adopted like
You're
cat.
talking to a cat lover.
My mom was like the center of the cat distribution
System?
system.
Amazing.
And
Do tell more.
Cats would find my mom. And when we lived in Cripple Creek, we were there for about a year before we went to Boulder. And I think 2 or 3 cats found my mom. I think we left Boulder and we left Cripple Creek with maybe 3 cats.
Remarkable.
Our next stop, my mom, at one point we had 5 cats and a dog. And then we had 6 cats.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Serious.
I'm the kind of person when somebody says
That's a lot of cats.
why do you have cats? Because the state I live in tells me I can't have mountain lions.
I mean, I love cats. I want all the cats, but I'm actually allergic. Though I build my own tolerance to my own animals, so I have a cat. But my daughter is really allergic when she comes home to visit, and so I think
you can always get a replacement.
daughter. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the other daughter's not allergic, so.
Well, see, there you go. It's pros and
Sometimes you have to pick.
I'm sorry, you
Yeah.
gotta sort out your priorities
Yeah.
because
Right.
if somebody's
Of
allergic,
course.
it's like, you know what? I am very sorry. It's not you. Actually, it is you. Yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
We're done.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to be around me, you have to take some
Thank you.
allergy meds.
Yes. And you're getting older
That's it.
now, so time to get out there and tackle the world. And she's
Yeah, no,
tackling
both
the
my
world.
daughters don't live at home, so I'm empty
Yeah.
nesting, except I have the cat.
Nice.
My cat's name is Cat.
And
that is the best name I've ever heard in my life.
And Kat is on in most faculty virtual meetings.
Yeah, she comes and she sits just right in front of me. I usually have headphones in, and she sits in front of me and still turns toward the camera. Like, she knows what's happening.
Mm-hmm. She does. I can attest.
She's totally wooed the chancellor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
From earlier today.
So I know back in my day we did mixtapes. Did you do mixtapes as well?
Oh, yes. Tapes.
Okay, tapes.
Yeah,
Not
tapes.
yeah.
Okay, so who are your
some of your
favorites?
favorite artists?
Oh, from back in the day, I was, gosh, I was kind of all over the place because my mom loved a lot of classic rock. Actually, okay, so back in my day, I would sit in front of my mom's record player, and being from Long Island, with Bruce Springsteen and Billy Joel.
Oh,
and
nice.
I like Billy Joel's Moving Out album. I have that whole thing memorized still because the lyrics were in the album. And so I would sit and read and sing that, as well as Elton John, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. That's
Classic.
a favorite of mine. So I was very, and then in the bar where my mom worked, my aunt's bar, there was a jukebox. So they would give me money to put in the jukebox and play songs.
If you waited enough at your table, enough customers, you get money for the jukebox.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And then I also, on Long Island, before I left, my mom took me to a lot of hockey games. So I was a big Islander fan and Yankees fan because they were great at that time too. So I grew up with a real love of sports and in particular hockey. Yeah. So
I don't know if the Yankees have never been great. They're always in it.
They've had some so-so times recently.
But they're always in the playoffs.
Yeah, they're just when people usually make a reference as far as somebody being superior, they usually bring up the Yankees.
The Yanks.
But I'm just curious. You mentioned it was your mother who was really into Stephen King. Are you into the works of? King?
I've read them all.
Yeah.
I mean, they were in my house growing up, so I read
Understood.
them all. Probably I was too young to have read them. My mom was 21 when she had me, so young mom, and single not long after that. I think she and my dad were together for about 5 years after I was born, and so my mom made maybe not great decisions, and she took me to see The Shining in theaters.
Oh, wow.
And I had to have been like 9 or 10, and it was terrifying.
Yeah.
It was
that's
absolutely terrible. The twins in the hallways, terrifying.
The blood coming out of
And
the
now you live
elevator.
in
Yeah.
Colorado.
Yeah, and
I
I stayed one night in the Stanley Hotel, and
Did
I was
you?
so afraid.
I don't blame you.
I was still married at the time, and he like had a fever or something that night. So I'm like lying awake.
Did you see anything? Did you actually see anything?
No, I wouldn't leave the room. Are you kidding me? I barely left the bed to go to the bathroom. It was so
Going to the
scary
bathtub
in the
and seeing the
dark.
guy in the bathtub.
Yeah, the woman in the bathtub. That movie was.
Yeah.
It's so serious.
My
That's
mom
pretty
was a
intense.
young mom and maybe
Yeah.
didn't always make the best decisions for me. So
Yeah, the red rum.
no, it was that might. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
my parents took me to see Alien. Alien.
I'm sorry. How old were you when that happened?
I know.
When you got to see.
Like 6 or 7 or something. It was crazy.
Oh, yeah, it was a different. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like it was a different
But
time.
by contrast, you loved that movie.
I did. My parents actually bought me the Alien toy,
Oh.
and I was running around like trying to like have
Terrifying
it punch
his
through people's
siblings.
heads and stuff. Kind of a weird kid.
I mean, I learned what an R-rated movie was because I remember I was talking to my best friend Maria Sirianni on the phone, and I think I was 7 or so when Saturday Night Fever came out, and my mom was taking me to see that, and I was like, Maria, I'm going to see a movie tonight. What are you going to see? I said, Saturday Night Fever. She's like, that's R-rated. I'm like, oh, it is?
Oh, right.
What is that?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
But again, my mom took me to see that, and now when you look at that, that's hardly R-rated.
Yeah,
No,
Saturday Night
That's like
Fever's
PG, not even a PG-13.
By
No.
contrast, my parents would not let me see Grease.
Yeah.
And everyone
loved
saw
Grease.
Grease, and I was denied,
Yeah. You had some pretty
permission.
strict parents.
And I was
Yeah.
just devastated and ended up finding a way to go.
Snake.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Because I'm like, there's no way. Because I knew all the words to all the songs. I had the album. They were like, we'll buy you the album. And, but they went and they said, no, we don't like the ending. So that's not a message that we want for you.
Beauty school dropout.
And no, I mean, it's so, Olivia Newton-John, becomes part of that.
Yeah.
You're the
They're
one that I
messaging.
want is
Yeah.
this song
The
that they sing.
messaging was all wrong apparently for me. And I just, it's
Interesting.
like, well, now I really have to see it. I've got to figure out what this is all about because everyone loves it. And then I was, 6th grade, I think, and I was able to discern, okay, I get what they don't like about the ending because, she kind of compromises who she is for him. I got where they saw that, but I thought it was, I think you're...
See, even back then you were a feminist.
I think I did, in a way, sort of think I get a little bit of the word, but my mom by no means was a feminist. So
Don't say that.
I would think that she almost would like that because she might be, of course she should compromise who she is for the man.
Anything to
Right.
win a man's attention.
Right. She should be a trad wife.
Chad.
She should be a trad wife indeed.
Yeah. So
By the
back in
way-
the day, we had to actually go to movie theaters. You had to actually go to a
And
movie
sneak
theater.
in, too.
And then, depending on how popular the movie
Yeah.
was, I remember standing in line for Star Wars again and again and again, like 3 times in a row.
Oh my gosh.
It was a whole day.
I love Star Wars. I saw that in the theater. I saw Bambi in the theater, but it must have been a re-release
Ouch.
because I'm not that old.
I was going to say that would have been.
Pretty
I remember
traumatizing.
seeing it with my grandfather, though,
Okay.
and crying.
Did you
Yeah.
cry?
Aw.
Yeah, that is traumatizing.
Yes.
I saw E.T. and my brother was screaming in the theater. So when that... Oh, I'm loving the
He
whole
had
thing. I'm like,
night
yeah.
terrors.
And my brother's like, oh God. Yeah. And then we saw The Thing. Oh my God. I saw The Thing in the theater. That's a pretty disturbing movie.
That is
Kurt
a-
Russell. What a classic, though.
Ugh. That one's disturbing.
It's a bit.
The monster mimics you, and you
dogs.
don't know who's real and who's a monster. Oh God!
Which, by the way, have you seen Annihilation?
No, I haven't seen that.
Natalie Portman stars in it. And it is just a phenomenal movie. What a concept.
It's on like Netflix or something.
I don't know if it's I don't know what streaming platform it's currently on, but I highly recommend it. It's really taking the question of if there is intelligent life outside of this planet, and if it were to be introduced to planet Earth,
There he is again.
where it would go.
Admar the Alien. That's your new name.
Love it. Love everything about it.
Now we're working on Severance. That's the one that we're working on right now. That
Okay.
is. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I need
For
to
anybody
start
that's
that
ever read
one.
any
Yes.
Karl Marx and you're familiar with Alienation from work, this series
No, I
is
think it's
stunning.
you touched on
Kafka.
Kafka last
Kafka.
time, and I think there's
Yeah.
strong elements of Kafka in it because it's almost like that metamorphosis.
Yeah,
where-
Ben Stiller is produced this thing.
I think he may be a
and,
Kafka fan because it's that one you were talking about with the bug. The guy wakes
Yeah.
up and he's a bug and he's like only worried about getting his work done. I see that because this whole concept is that you sever your work and your work-life balance. So you sever who you are at work with who you are at home, and so they don't have any knowledge of one another. So in essence, your work self becomes a slave to work. Your home self benefits from all of that, but gets the check, gets the benefits, and then has the fun because your work self only exists at work and does all the work chores and never leaves the office. Because the minute you leave the office, you are no longer aware of anything that happens at work, but you have your whole personal life. You have your weekends and everything. But then when you're at work, you're severed. And it's just fascinating because then you're just a slave and they can do whatever they want to you at work with the permission of your outie. Your outie, who's the self that has
Nice
given
cars.
permission for you to to have this slave who earns the money so that your other self can be completely free of any worries of the professional self, who's the innie. And it's just fascinating because they basically abuse the innie. The innie is a completely slave-driven with meaningless work, meaningless tasks, and so the innies basically start to rise up and rebel against their outies.
So let's make sure to thank Laura Eurich
Yes, indeed.
for
Thank you
coming
so much
to
for your time.
speak
Thank
with
you
us
all
here
for
at the
having
Prime
me.
Directive. I know it's just fantastic to have somebody of your with your resume and everything to just come and chat to us about everything from truth seeking to, my gosh, we covered everything from nostalgic Stephen King movies to your background in New York. I didn't know any of that stuff. No.
Yes, exactly.
But to just the importance of truth and why it's important to get an education. So, yeah.
I learned so much about journalism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should take my
Is
class.
there any kind of final message that you would like to definitely leave the comment section people so that they maybe they comment on?
I keep listening to podcasts that feed your soul and feed your mind.
All right.
So please stay away from here as far away as you possibly can, everybody.
You heard it here. No, okay. All right.
Thank you.
That'll be we'll wrap this episode of the Prime Directive, and
thank you all for watching.
Thanks
listening.
everybody for coming in.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Bye.
Through the maze. Join us on this path, let's ignite the blaze. So grab your headphones tight, let's go for a ride. With every spin and twist, we'll couldn't run and hide. The Prime Directive where the laughter's alive. Society's reflections, let's help each other thrive. Politics and culture, oh what a blend. Join on the journey and let's set the trend. As we close the chapter, lend us your ear. The Prime Directive's calling, so let's persevere. The Prime Directive where the laughter's alive. Society's reflections, let's help each other thrive. Politics and culture.